Listen, we need to start having a serious conversation about there being something wrong with Joe Biden. I think it is just an incredibly sad thing to watch. The DNC propping him up in this presidential fight, being the only guy that can take out Bernie, getting everyone else to drop out of the race to prop up Joe Biden and to support him in this last-ditch effort to take out the socialist, when something is clearly wrong. Now, I have always been a fan of Biden. I really have. I love his gaffes. His gaffes make him so endearing to me. I really wanted him to run in 2016. It didn't work out that way. I thought it was very sad, but I completely understood why he didn't. I think he would have wiped the floor with them if he had. But this is a new year. This is a new election cycle. And he is not the person that he once was. We are seeing the obvious decline of something that happens when people reach old age. It is completely obvious to anyone who has a set of eyes, and yet the media does not want to seem to talk about it. They're willfully ignoring that the DNC is behaving incredibly unethically and irresponsibly by putting someone in the position of potentially being president of the United States when they are not fit to hold the role. And again, it really pains me to say that, but I don't know how anyone in good faith could compare, let's just say Biden gets the nomination. I don't know how anyone in good faith could compare Joe Biden to Donald Trump and say that Biden is more there than Trump. We're going to talk about that in a second, but first off, I want to talk about the media's just absolute willfulness in not acknowledging that there is something clearly wrong that every single one of us can see and every single one of us can hear. We've got this tweet from Joe Lockhart that came out last week sometime. Who is out there on Twitter pushing the BS story of Biden's cognitive decline? Trump supporters, Bernie bros, and Russians. Now, let's just ignore this other tweet that this guy posted, acknowledging that this guy's also gone after Trump for his own cognitive diminishment. And again, I'm going to talk about Trump in a second because that's an argument I've heard an awful lot of. Well, Trump is doing it, so we can't be wrong for Biden. No. If you've been screaming about Trump's cognitive decline and his mental well-being, then you have absolutely no basis to stand on to say Biden's perfectly fine. There's nothing to see here. Nothing is going wrong. And I'm obviously not the only one that's noticed this. Listen, this article just came out from Brian Cates on Uncover DC, a really great piece where he goes through the media's willfulness in not acknowledging this problem. He specifically points out this Twitter conversation between Matt Stoller. Democratic insiders knew that Biden had cognitive decline issues. They joke about it. They don't care. Neera Tanden, I think that's how you pronounce her name. I'm sorry, I'm horrible at names. Says, this is really beneath you. Who's the president for the Center for American Progress. And Matt replies, it's totally reckless what Democrats are doing and you know it. Their little conversation continues and she says, I've never seen any Democrat talk like this, clutching her pearls. I expect these kinds of lows from Sean Hannity, kinds of low attacks from Sean Hannity, not an intellectual of the progressive cause. It's pathetic. And that's really the issue, isn't it? This isn't about electing the right person for the job. It's about advancing the progressive cause. And Matt replies, it's not an attack. It's genuine concern for that we elect a president without his full faculties. It's a hard job. Thank you, Matt. Thank you for being the voice of reason here and being one of the people that is speaking up that this is wrong. But I'm going to be honest. Neera is wrong that a Democrat has never talked like this. She's absolutely wrong, and I'm going to prove it. Now, this is a post that I made on my Facebook wall. You can see the date of this, September 7th, 2019. You know what I was doing on September 7th, 2019? I went to the New Hampshire State Democratic Convention in Manchester, New Hampshire, where every single presidential candidate came to speak. Literally every single one. I was there all day. It started at like 8:30 in the morning and went till like 5 or 6 at night. It was a really long day, but every single one of them got to get up and do their little spiel. Now, I am an independent now, but I did not decide to leave the Democratic Party until November of 2019. I was still very much a Democrat in September. In fact, I was invited to go to this with Pete Buttigieg's campaign. I had marched in parades for Pete Buttigieg. I had done all sorts of stuff with Pete Buttigieg. I was like in with their campaign in New Hampshire. And so they invited me with their crew to go. They brought a whole bunch of people. We had a whole section and I was there with them. And this is the recap that I posted on my Facebook wall after that day. So I said, wow, I heard every single person running for the Democratic nomination for president speak today. 19 people, I think. It was a long day. Here are my impressions. The crowd was revved up for Warren and Bernie. No surprises there. But I'm telling you, Mayor Pete was right up at the top. He really was at the time. And that's, and this is another thing too, just sidebar. Anyone who says that they were surprised that Pete did well in New Hampshire wasn't paying attention, because I was posting this stuff way, way before. Yes, I was a Pete fan. I still am a Pete fan, but, he got a great reception. I'm not a Warren person, but she explained her tax on the wealthy. But the way she explained her tax on the wealthy and what they could do by taking 2 cents of every dollar over 50 million was really compelling. What I was referring to there was the way she explained it and how she articulated the information to the crowd. It was really compelling. Then my third thing. There was something weird about Biden. First, he did not get the reception you would expect a frontrunner to get. He also made some weird mistakes. Biden came out first. I believe he was the very first candidate to come out earlier in the day. I mean, I want to say it was like 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. It was very early in the day. And the very first thing I noticed when he came out and started speaking is he was slurring his words. It was very pronounced. He was slurring his words. He was saying things that didn't make sense. It was kind of one of those things where, like, you wanted to clap for him because he's Biden and you can't help but love Biden, but at the same time, you're like, that was weird. I remember this specifically. And I posted about it. This is, again, when I was still a Democrat. To say that people are not noticing this stuff is absolutely fundamentally wrong. And then I had some other stuff there too. You can read that if you like. But I want to keep going because, listen, the media is now trying to actively cover this up. Actively pretend like nothing to see here, right? There's this article, Washington Monthly, the disinformation campaign being launched against Biden. There is no data to support the allegation that he is in cognitive decline. And so we're going to see even more examples of people calling out Joe Biden's cognitive decline in this article. Glenn Greenwald, the steadfast willful refusal of Democratic and political media elites to address what is increasingly visible to the naked eye, Biden's serious cognitive decline, is frightening indeed, not only for what it pretends for 2020, but for what it says about the ease of snapping them into line. Yes. We got Matt again showing up here. Sam says the GOP is already diagnosing Biden with dementia, full stop, and all he's doing is giving them more material. This is like an electoral asteroid hurtling towards the Earth, and people are pretending it doesn't exist. It exists. And they keep going and going and going about, like, they give some evidence about here's what cognitive decline means, and here's how the Mayo Clinic defines it. And then they end, this is an update as of yesterday, as this latest disinformation campaign grows, more people are weighing in. Here's an informative thread from Twitter. This is their latest thing that they're doing. I have done extensive research training in both the domains of developmental psychology and speech and language disorders. Let's be clear. Biden has a stutter. They're saying he has a stutter. A stutter. Like, do they think people are stupid? If there are any Democrats watching this, honestly, like, do they think you're stupid? Because if you can't see what is going on with Biden with your naked eye, man, I'm just telling you, that's crazy. And we have other people coming out to warn us of this too. Jill Stein says this isn't going away. Jill Stein warns Biden's biggest risk is his obvious cognitive decline. In a recent tweet she sent out, Biden's lies and record are bad enough, she's not a fan, but the biggest risk is his obvious cognitive decline. He says he's running for the Senate, confused his wife with his sister, forgot Obama's name. This isn't going away. If Dems close their eyes and keep pushing Joe, it'll be an agonizing 8 months ahead. head. And then we have this other article, and this has all sorts of videos of Biden saying like just really crazy things. Like in this one, and I'm not going to play the videos, you can go Google them for yourself. But this is a pretty famous one that's come out, is he tried to quote the Declaration of Independence, and he forgets it halfway through. Or this one where he calls Super Tuesday Super Thursday. Or, this one where he says if that he's running for the United States Senate, and if you don't like it, go for the other Biden. He doesn't even know what he's running for. Or this one where he's on Fox News talking to Chris Wallace, who I'm sure he's talked to 1 or 2 times before, and he calls him Chuck. He calls him the wrong name. Or this one where he says that he's in the state of South Carolina. Or this one where he randomly bites his wife's finger, which is just creepy and weird. And we could keep going and going and going and going. And then this news came out yesterday that the Biden campaign actually wanted to have a debate format in which Joe got to sit down and relax. Do you think that in a debate with Donald Trump that Joe Biden is going to have the option to sit down? This is absolute insanity. This is absolute insanity, folks. We have got to start acknowledging that there is something seriously wrong with him. And I want to address the people who keep saying there's something wrong with Trump. Trump is doing the same thing. Trump has, what about Trump? What about his obvious mental instability? Listen, I absolutely believe that Trump is a narcissist. And I'm talking like a legit narcissist, like narcissistic personality disorder narcissist. But that does not mean that he is without his mental faculties. It simply means that in his universe, the world revolves around him, and he has to expend a great deal of energy making sure he is constantly framing his perspective so he is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Having narcissistic personality disorder, and I have always said this has always been my position, is actually a really sad thing. I absolutely believe it's true. I mean, all these experts have come out diagnosing him. We probably shouldn't do that. You should not, in general, be diagnosing people that you haven't actually talked to or treated. But I absolutely believe that's true, and I frankly think it's very sad that that's something that Trump has. It starts in your childhood. It has to do with your relationship with your mother. Swear I'm not making that up. But I think that's not good. But the thing of it is, Biden cannot even be on a stage for 15 minutes before he starts making these gaffes. Trump can literally be on a stage for 2 to 3 hours at a time in a giant arena full of people. And he doesn't make these same gaffes. If you don't believe me, go and watch literally any long-form speech that Trump has given at one of his rallies. Yes, he jokes. Yes, you might not like his jokes. Yes, he can be crass. Yes, he can say stupid things. But does he make gaffes like Joe Biden has? Does he forget things mid-sentence? Does he forget where he is? Does he forget who's there? Listen, you go to a Trump rally, Trump's going to be introducing everyone. He's like an entertainer. He's like, and this person's here, and this person's here, and this person's here. He that's what he does. He's like a consummate host. Biden cannot even tell his wife and his sister apart on stage, folks. And again, I think that this is incredibly sad. It honestly breaks my heart to watch it. It reminds me of when I would visit my grandmother in the nursing home, and she would have no idea what year it is, no idea where she was, no idea who I was. That's what this reminds me of. I want to just take another look at Brian's article here. I could sit here all day pondering how it came to this, or why the Democratic Party leadership boxed itself into this trap. But this is what they've done. So instead, I'll focus on the practical ramifications of this. Could Biden really make it to Election Day without disqualifying himself through multiple mental incidents? With the frequency of the incidents I've seen thus far since Biden announced his candidacy in April of last year, I don't see how. Not even frantic or relentless gaslighting by the Democratic Party and the DNC media complex, but I repeat myself, could hide Biden's true condition from the American public. At some point, the efforts to explain away what the audience is seeing descends into a farce. What makes this development so ironic is the fact Trump's critics have spent much of the past 5 years attacking his mental acuity. even forcing him to point out publicly going after former White House physician Ronnie Jackson and forcing him out of the job because he wouldn't say that Trump was suffering from dementia. Instead, Jackson, frustrated the left by insisting the president was mentally sharp and in excellent health. Listen, again, just set aside what you think about Trump for a second. If you compare Biden with Trump today, there is absolutely no denying that Biden is in a worse mental state than Trump. I'm not going to say that Trump is perfect. Trump is not perfect. He's getting older, man. Like, they're all old at this point. But why the DNC forced someone like Pete Buttigieg to drop out of the race to support Biden when this was so obvious to anyone who is paying the least little bit of attention? It just boggles my mind. After years of snidely insisting that Trump is insane and demented, Democrats have now handed frontrunner status to a man who can't even get through a very brief 7-minute speech at a campaign rally without obvious mental snafus, even with the help of a teleprompter. If you consider how the Democratic Party and the mainstream media worked hand in glove to hide candidate Hillary Clinton's health issues in the 2016 contest, including the now infamous incident that occurred at the 9/11 memorial event, as some kind of dry run for this attempt to cover up Biden, you are comparing apples and oranges. If a citizen had not been there to film Clinton being literally picked up and tossed into the back of a van, one of her very expensive shoes left behind, and had that video not gone viral, there would have been no admission whatsoever that the Clinton incident had even occurred. They only made the admission that she had fainted from the heat because they were forced to. Had it been presidential candidate Donald J. Trump having a physical incident like this and collapsing at a public event, having to be picked up and thrown into a van by security personnel in 2016, I hardly need to point out how vastly different the media coverage would have been, do I? Reporters across the fruited plain would have immediately screeched that Trump's health issues demonstrated by such an episode disqualified him from being considered for the nation's top job. The difference between Hillary's episode and Biden's is that Clinton was otherwise apparently fine. She had recovered enough even to go outside and wave at the media shortly after her abrupt exit from the event. Biden's problem is of a completely different nature. Biden isn't physically collapsing. He's mentally collapsing. Such episodes are impossible to predict or prevent, so the longer he stays on the campaign trail, the more examples of his cognitive decline are going to be provided to the watching public. Do people really think that if the media just says something enough time, he's fine, he's obviously fine, it's just a stutter? Do people really think that voters are going to buy it? Well, they obviously do. But the thing of it is, I don't believe that voters are stupid. I don't believe that when it comes down to it, people are going to deny what's in front of their eyes. And I do not believe that vote blue no matter who is going to carry someone who is obviously declining in one of the most heartbreaking ways that I've seen on a public stage. I don't believe that's going to defeat Donald Trump. Listen, man, I think that the Democrats have just given up on 2020. I really do. Look at their top two contenders. You've got the socialist and then you've got the moderate who's going through obvious cognitive decline. Neither of them is going to beat Donald Trump. It's just not going to happen. He's going to wipe the floor with both of them. And I would actually take Bernie over Biden in this sense. Listen, I actually really, in my heart of hearts, because I love Bernie too, man. I'm from Vermont. I, in my heart of hearts, hopes Bernie figures out a way to really stick it to the DNC. That would be absolutely fabulous, so far as I'm concerned, because they have done everything they can to hold him down. They are cheating in any way that they can. No, I don't believe they're changing votes, but I think they're doing everything in their power to stack the deck against him, and it pisses me off. I am not in favor of electing Bernie to the presidency. I'm just not. Listen, I own a small business. I've worked very hard to get it to where it is, and I don't believe that socialism is the answer. I just don't. It pains me to say it because I really do have a special appreciation for Bernie. but I would take him over Biden any day of the week because Bernie, for his faults, is still there. He's still sharp. He's still got some gumption. I would like him to be a little bit of a stronger candidate. I would really like to see him push back on some of his campaign, but he's not in obvious decline. He's just not. Ultimately, I really don't think it matters. I think Trump's going to win, and I think that the DNC is making it near impossible for people like me, the people in the middle, the people that feel they aren't politically embraced really by either party. I think they're making it near impossible for me to do anything but cast my vote for Donald Trump.